4 or Xbox One. Big thing to take into consideration too, this is a game exclusive from Sony and different developers. It's available exclusively on the PlayStation 4. You're not going to get an Xbox One version of this, unfortunately, so I do encourage you to take up a habit of playing PlayStation games or purchasing a PlayStation 4 video game console if you haven't already, because this is a game exclusive for PlayStation. The upside of all of this, even though it's not available for fans of the Xbox One video game console and or Microsoft, is the fact that this video game will be very detailed, because usually when a video game is dropped for a exclusive console, like for this one, for instance, for PlayStation 4 from Sony, the detail is maxified and the detail is really there, as opposed to having a video game released for two different various consoles. You have pretty much a watered-down version of what the game probably could have amounted to if it was exclusive to PlayStation 4 or Xbox One for say. So at least you're getting the detail, and the game is going to be worth the price that it's going to go for. Obviously, it's going to be for top value. It's going to go anywhere from $75 to $80 because it's a new release, and with the anticipation of this game building all the time, people becoming more excited as the days and the weeks and the months go by, leading up to the spring of 2016. It's going to be a big year for video game releases, because this is when the video game consoles like PlayStation 4 and Xbox One are expected to be at their peak and coming into their prime, coming into their evolutionary process. We are coming into a new era of video gaming, like it or not, and this video game has a lot of anticipation, so it's going to go for top value. But if you were a fan of the original Ratchet and Clank video games, this is one I highly recommend for all of you. The review quote that I put on the graphic on my YouTube channel at Jonathan Clarke 22 goes like this: it's a video game that speaks to all generations. And I say that because I've chosen that quote for the Ratchet and Clank 2016 video game release, because this is a video game that every member of your family and even your friends are going to get something enjoyable out of. This game is going to give you hours of enjoyment, and there shouldn't be anyone who should review this game very sarcastically, which a lot of people tend to do on websites like IGN. Now, I'm very different from websites like IGN or any video game website in the way of cheat websites or video game reviewers, say on YouTube, who you'll find all the time. I'm choosing to give this video game the benefit of the doubt, although I could find time in criticizing Ratchet and Clank and say maybe it's a little bit too late to be putting out a Ratchet and Clank video game. I could be saying that the same thing about video games like Mario Party, but I'm not choosing to do so, because classics like Mario Party or Super Smash Bros. Are video games that people never get tired of, and they're always excited to see the release of. For instance, on Wii U, the Super Smash Bros. Release, the most recent one, my nephew is a diehard fan of, and the character list, the character roster on the new Super Smash Bros., if they keep going with that, Nintendo really has struck with gold. I could be saying the same thing about Mario Party, but Mario Party gets more detailed, more fun as the years go by. Release after release, Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, is sitting on a cash cow as long as games like Mario Party, are still coming out. It's just amazing seeing how advanced things like Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft are getting all the time, and Ratchet and Clank is definitely a prime example of that. Now, in terms of a 5-star scale perspective rating, I could go the distance and say 5 out of 5 stars almost instantaneously for Ratchet and Clank, based off the visuals, based off the gameplay, and the detailed storyline and the voiceover cast that's expected to drop for Ratchet and Clank. And because it feels so much like a movie to me, I could go the distance and give it a full 5 out of 5 star, potential 5-star scale rating on my review. But I won't do that. I'll say at least 4 out of 5. I'll take 1 star off of it because the game has not yet been dropped. Will I be playing Ratchet and Clank on PlayStation 4? You can damn well bet I'll be playing this video game if I play any in 2016. Even if I don't have a copy possessed by that point in time, I will be playing it some way or another. I have to check out Ratchet and Clank because, as I said, the truest thing I've ever said about video games when it comes to Crash Bandicoot or any of the popular releases on, say, the Nintendo Wii or the PlayStation 3 back in the day, the thing is, I always was a huge fan of things like Crash Bandicoot and Ratchet and Clank, and I know a lot of people, I think I can speak for a lot of people who were fans of the original Ratchet and Clank video game series back on the PlayStation back in the late 90s. I believe was when they first started releasing the original Ratchet and Clank video games, which have been significantly updated since then, despite not seeing any releases on the PlayStation 2 through 3. Finally, 3 PlayStation releases later, we're finally seeing fucking Ratchet and Clank on PlayStation 4. How can you not be excited for this? We've had 3 different variations of the PlayStation release within the last 15 years, and finally Ratchet and Clank is fucking returning on PlayStation 4. Couldn't be more excited, couldn't be more thrilled on the announcement of this. It was dropped a couple of months back, and I know IGN have blown up their Facebook page and their Twitter and their official website, of course, which is IGN.com. Pretty simple URL, universal link for you to check out for detail on Ratchet and Clank. And I know Ratchet and Clank have also come to social media on Facebook and Twitter, which is really cool. If you haven't already checked it out, they are on Facebook with the official Ratchet and Clank Facebook page, and they have an official Twitter as well, keeping you updated, leading up with anticipation on the release of the video game on their Twitter, which of course is at Ratchet and Clank. Pretty simple links for you to check out, and I'll include some links in the description if I get around to doing so with detail on Ratchet and Clank if you want more out of your Ratchet and Clank experience leading up to the release, which is very highly anticipated by a lot of people. I think I can get away with saying that this is the most highly anticipated computer animated video game we have seen or heard about in the last at least 10 years. The last decade, we have seen a lot of great computer animated video games released, no matter if you're talking about role-playing video games, you're talking about sports video games. We have seen a lot of fantastic computer animation being brought to the forefront by these video game development companies, but this Ratchet and Clank video game really blows computer animation out of the park, out of the proverbial water. Call it what you wish when you choose to review the video game. You kind of got to choose your words very carefully when it comes to video games like Ratchet and Clank when you choose to find time to criticize them, because this game really, I don't think there's any room for criticism because the levels are just awesome. The gameplay looks amazing. I was always a fan of Ratchet because of just how Ratchet was always this individual that had such a personality. The same thing applies to Clank. They just had such fun-filled personalities and made video gaming that much more unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to experience or witness when playing a Ratchet and Clank video game. It's kind of like Crash Bandicoot back in the day when the most unexpected things would occur during the levels of gameplay. One minute you could be jumping from barrel to barrel. The next minute you could be jumping over water, and you could be in a Jeep running away from a bear or an elephant or a hippopotamus. It was so fun playing the original Crash Bandicoot video games, and now for the first time in over 15 years, as I previously mentioned here, we're getting the chance to experience Ratchet and Clank in a way that we've never had the chance to experience before. So how can you find time in criticizing a video game like this? Really excited about it. 4 to 5 stars is what I'm choosing to rate the game in terms of a 5-star scale perspective rating. I think it's a game that everybody should be excited for or get something out of, and I'm sure that a lot of people are going to get in on the conversation about this on social media now that Ratchet and Clank have found their way conveniently to Facebook at Ratchet and Clank and on Twitter at the same Ratchet and Clank, with already hundreds of tweets and people filled to the maximum with anticipation and really psyched up about Ratchet and Clank. And I am one of those individuals on the proverbial Ratchet and Clank fan wagon, so to speak, and will continue to be on that wagon, riding that wave of momentum heading into April of 2016, which is the tentative release date of the Ratchet and Clank video game on PlayStation 4. Again, it's exclusive, guys, to PlayStation 4. You're not going to get an Xbox One version of this game. It's unfortunate for the fans of Microsoft's Xbox consoles that are released every couple of years, but with the advantage coming forth for PlayStation 4, it is to be noticed that the detail will be in the game, and it will definitely be worth the value of the video game when it is released. It's one of the hottest releases of spring 2016. Get in on the conversation if you have any links, any photos, any videos that I may have missed and may have got past my attention on the internet. You can share the links in the description of this video in the comments, and you can also get in on the conversation on my Twitter at Jonathan Clarke1 by hashtagging Ratchet and Clank to me. I would love to know what your opinion and your initial reaction was on this video game when you first heard it. As I mentioned, next week we're going to be reviewing the Disney XD show, exclusive to Disney XD. It's called Gaming Show in My Parents' Garage. I think it's a very thoroughly reviewing video game show which doesn't get enough recognition, so I'm going to be putting it over here on this show. I may find time in criticizing Gaming Show from My Parents' Garage more so than Ratchet and Clank, because to be honest with you, I'm more of a fan of Ratchet and Clank, especially Ratchet, because of Ratchet's personality, than I am of Gaming Show from My Parents' Garage, because sometimes I think Disney leaves out a lot of detail, especially when it comes to the Disney XD shows. Now, I'm not coming down hard on Disney XD, but the thing is, Disney XD really needs room for improvement when it comes to doing thorough reviews of their video games and different aspects of their shows, which Disney XD tries to appeal to. So again, I'm not really choosing to come down hard on Disney XD, but you will get my opinion on that show next week for the first time ever on this YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed do so at Jonathan Clarke 22. Follow me on Twitter at Jonathan Clarke 1 and get in on the conversation on my Facebook page at HEW Entertainment. Really excited about things like Gaming Show from My Parents' Garage, which I'll be reviewing for the first time again next week here on the show. And if you have the chance, pick up your copy of Ratchet and Clank 2016, available for the first time in the spring of next year. Really excited about this. Get in on the conversation. Give me your thoughts in the comments. Tweet it to me on Twitter and join the conversation on my Facebook page. Don't miss out on this awesome opportunity to check out Ratchet and Clank for the first time. We didn't see releases on PlayStation 2 and 3. We may have seen it on the original PlayStation, but this is a premiere release, pretty much you can consider it to be, on the PlayStation 4, and it's an exclusive release from Sony Computer Entertainment America and other developers who are in on the Ratchet and Clank project, who have been for years. I know Gaming Show from My Parents' Garage, which I will be reviewing next week, definitely were high on this video game. They were profiling it on their show, the newer episodes of Disney XD's Gaming Show from My Parents' Garage, and who can blame these guys for doing so again? I'm not choosing to come down hard on Gaming Show with My Parents' Garage, but the detail when Disney puts out these shows reviewing things like video games and other TV shows and the parody shows like So Random, you kind of got no other choice but to come down hard on them. I wish I didn't have to do it, but next week we'll get into more thorough conversation on Gaming Show from My Parents' Garage as we wrap up the video game theme over the last 3 weeks on this show. So get in on the conversation whatever way you choose, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or on Google+. It's all going down at HEW Entertainment. And I will see you next week. For until then, I'm your host, Jonathan Clarke. Stay safe, and I will speak to you really soon. You're listening to HEW Entertainment Radio, home of radio show host and columnist Jonathan Clarke.
If I got locked away and we lost it all today, tell me honestly, would you